Peace, everyone. Greetings. Shabbat Shalom to all of my Anu family. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. We are live. I know we are live. I can see Chief Yuya in the comment section, live and alive, watching. So, greetings, Chief Yuya. Thank you so much for all of your direction. Thank you so much for your covering. Thank you so much for giving us, you know, giving us what we need. Many times we don't know what we need, and you're always there. So give thanks, and you're always showing up on the Shemas. You're always in the thick of it, live and alive. So give thanks. Greetings, Alba Cruz, Alvarez. I'm not getting the last name correct. So please forgive me. Forgive me. But welcome all to our Anu Shema Anu every single Yom Shishi at 6:30 and sometimes at 8:30. We are live, and we go live to actually have deliberation deliberation over the Anu way, right? But it's not just the Anu way, because we pull in many other references, biblical references, as well too. And this evening, I want to charge you to support the dialogue and the community conversation by adding to the build, adding any biblical references that are relatable and definitely connected to the conversation and the build this evening. So let me see who else is here. Ima Kuya, give thanks, greetings. Even sometimes at 6:57, I apologize. I was having a little bit of tech issue. I signed in, and then once I hit enter studio, it just kind of said something went wrong. You got to start over. So I had to start over to get back in. So I apologize for my tardiness, but we are here. Thank you. I see 9 people watching. So greetings. Let me see who else is in the chat. Shalom. Raskush, Abba Raskush, Salam Ricochet 7. All right, greetings. All right, and Ra, Brother Ra, thank you for joining us. All right, so this strong, as we close off our strong, we're going to really get into esteemed products and services, right? And make sure you have your Anu way with you. I don't want to show you mine because it's missing the front page. It's gone. The book cover is gone. So I don't want to show you mine. But during the dialogue and the discussion, grab your Anu way, open it, and make connections and place them in the chat. My purpose is to facilitate and to show you where there are connections to, and for us to discuss it. But I want it to be so much more engaging and even more interactive with you, contributing even more. So, grab your stuff. It's study time. All right. So I'm going to open up by saying honors to Chief Yuya, my head and covering, for the great body of work that he has shared with us and continues to share with us, because Chief continues to give. Chief is doing our Thursday movie breakdowns and is continuing to give and give and give in the form of a movie breakdown, but it feels like a lecture. So I give honor to Chief Yuya for that. But greater is the name of the Most High. So I give thanks for the opportunity to even be in this space and greet you all and share. Give thanks that the Most High has given us an opportunity to meet and connect and share and build, all off of the strength of Chief Yuya. So, he has grown this community and grown this space so that we can minister and serve. So I give thanks. Honors to all the brothers and sisters who have showed up today, this evening, and are here holding space. Peace to our guests as well. Peace to our new initiates. Welcome. Grab your books and things and feel free to engage in the chat, ask questions, and yeah, it's good. It's a pleasure to see everybody, connecting. So we always open up with the preface. It is this. What I'm going to read is a condensed excerpt, actually condensed. So it's an excerpt. It ain't the whole thing. Let me just open it all the way so I don't miss anything. All right. This book is not to be read only once. Read the words of this book of knowledge and wisdom out loud. This, you gotta hear it. You have to hear it constantly, continuously. It's like programming, wiring, rewiring the brain and the body. So discuss the convictions of this work with your Anu brothers and sisters. Share this information with your people. This publication should be read daily. Every line in this book can be taken out of context and studied on the strength of its own potential. The truth is to be deliberated. So let's deliberate. All right. So, as I said earlier, we are here to briefly discuss, because I don't think it's going to be a long SHEMA this evening, but we're here to talk about esteemed products and services. This is a continuation from our section on economics in the subsection entrepreneurialism, and we are going to jump right in. The paragraph reads, being an employer is not an excuse for laziness. We have the duty to work to obtain what we need in life. It is by way of our labor that we can employ the craftsmen and distribute our wealth. We only invest in businesses that are ethical and honest. We must make sure that the products and services that we offer are leaving an imprint of improvement in the world. If we can supply a service or product on a global scale, that is a great thing. But supplying our local economy is also esteemable, right? So there's a lot in here. I know previously we have been building on aspects of poverty. We even went into the different types of poverty, how it shows up, and even the idea of poverty mindset, right? And I think the previous paragraphs and the previous subsections kind of helped us to support us. It's like a laying a foundation and preparing us, getting us ready, because we know poverty is a plague. Poverty really exposes you, and it diminishes dignity, it removes dignity, but it cripples you from being able to be productive and to support others in being productive, or to support others and their productivity, right? And we see that that's clearly stated here in this section, because now we're talking about business, we're talking about products and services, but being able to employ others, right? So if you're impoverished, or you have a poverty mindset, it becomes very difficult for you to now be a solid industrial foundation for others to build and grow, right? So this section is really important. So being an employer is not an excuse for laziness. When I read this piece in preparation for, can you all hear me? Just let me know in the chat if you can. And before I move on, let me just greet all of the new family that I see joining. Sister Deidre, Ima Precious, Ima top tier speakers. That's Ima Naya and Ima Sequoia, top tier speakers. Sorry. All right. So being an employee is not an excuse for laziness. Thank you all. We were charged. It's been a strong no since we were charged to read the book of Ruth, and what came to mind, I'm not going through a story of the book of Ruth, but Boaz, who is considered a redeemer in this book of Ruth, um, what we see is, and also part of the lineage of the Christ, right? The Christ energy. Um, I noticed as I was thinking about this first part, I noticed that, when Boaz enters the story, we see him as the owner of land. And we hear him, we're reading about his conversation with his young employees, right? He has employed some young men and they're working the land. All right. But later, so we see him as a landowner, business owner. He's generating economy and he is providing an opportunity for others so that in that way he is distributing wealth. All right. But later on in the book, right? I don't want to say story, but you know what I mean when I say story. But later on in the recount of what has occurred in Boaz's life, we see him working with the grain. It's not like he's done and all he's doing is delegating. We still see him putting in hard work. And I found that interesting because I said to myself, that's an example of what it means to, yes, be an employer, own a business, build economy, but at the same time, you're not lazy. You're not just redistributing all the work and you do nothing, right? You always have a portion of that process of work that is assigned to you. And like I think that's helpful for us to actually look at as an example, right? So that's why I thought of Boaz in this instance, because I thought it was a great example of what it means to be an employer, have a business, but not use that to just kick back and do nothing. Because the truth is, when you think about it, it's about management, right? Um, another another thing that I think of, another example that I think of is, and this might not have a place here, but there is this particular show. I think it's, oh boy, I can't remember the name of the show, but I think it's Ramsey is his name. And what he does is he goes around and he kind of helps to reinvigorate restaurants and stores, and not stores, but food establishments and restaurants in particular. And one of the things from a couple of the episodes I've seen, you do see this lackadaisical, relaxed, a very lazy approach when it comes to you know managing their businesses. And most of the time, when like he begins to assess what's actually happening, you realize, oh wow, it's really because, okay, I own the business, but I really don't want to put anything into it to make it grow or blossom or bloom. So many times you think that, okay, owning a business just means you kind of get to sit on the sidelines. And that is not true, because if you're not delegating, if you're not managing resources, it's very easy for you to lose that business. It's very easy for things to fall apart, because employees are really looking for you to be able to guide them, right? Instruction. Oh, Gordon Ramsay on the case. Yes, Gordon Ramsay. So, you know, if you're an owner, essentially you have to have a bird's eye view of everything that's happening. You have to know where your resources are going. You have to know who's restocking resources. You may be the one who has to do the restocking of resources. So in many, he doesn't do those interventions anymore for exactly that reason. Oh wow, That's interesting. Right. That's interesting. So yeah, lazy owners. And many times the business itself gets away with you, right? It's like a horse on steroids who's just like has no has no rider. It's just, like gone. And thing really dwindled down to the business dwindles down to nothing. And eventually, they're in debt, So if we're talking about being an entrepreneur, it's not just about, oh yeah, I have a business, I have an EIN number, or it's an LLC. There's so much more that goes into it. All right. I don't know if anyone else wants to share other biblical references or other thoughts about, just the idea of being an employer and it not being an excuse. If not, we'll move on. The next sentence says that we have the duty to work to obtain what we need in life. So the for me, the next biblical reference, or like, I don't really want to call it stories, but the next account that I thought was very critical here to think about, and there are many others, right? This is why we're deliberating, because you bring what you have, I bring what I have, and we kind of, we build off of that. So when it comes to the duty of work in order to obtain what we need in life, I thought of reciprocity. Um, I thought of reciprocity being a key component of just that idea of working. And it brought me back to Genesis 3:19, because here we see, and again, we do not, I do not have written accounts of prior to Adam and Hawa's story, or Adam and Eve's story. So, but the first instance where this is the first instance where we see um, Adam being charged to, it's almost like he's charged to work by the sweat of his brow, pretty much, right? The Genesis 3:19 actually reads, "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return." So, like, what's being said here is you're going to work all the days of your life, right? You're going to sweat, right? In other words, honest work gives you an honest pay. And so here, I chose that actual reference because, like, we see where the idea of work and duty and that contract of working giving us a portal, or giving us a doorway to obtaining what our needs, and only needs. It doesn't say what you want and all your desires and all of that. That's, when there are certain instances where we see and read about our desires, and some of that is in Proverbs, right? But here I found it interesting that it spoke to the need in life, right? What we need. And in Genesis, it specifically says, thou in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread. So eating bread is like a basic need, right? That's food. But in many instances, it may even, indicate shelter, clothing, right? Like the basic needs of a person. So, if you want to jump in at this time and think, if you have any other thoughts or any biblical references that you thought connected to the idea of duty to work being connected to attaining needs in life, very much like Genesis 3:19 underscores, please drop it in the chat. I'll be happy to read it, share it on the screen, and we can build on it. What are your thoughts on the idea of, you know, we having the duty, we're contracted to work in order to obtain what we need? And, you know, again, the way this paragraph or this excerpt is worded and structured, it's structured so that way it's like building us up to the toward the idea of honest business, right? And being honest and being ethical, um, and being authentic when we do business and when we're engaging in that type of contract with others. So I think just the idea here helps to underscore again how important it is to not rob, pillage, and steal for what you need, or for anything, right? It's that idea of an honest work, giving you an honest pay. Um, I'm gonna move on because again, too, I also think like some of these ideas, well, not ideas, but some of what is shared here is very straightforward. Like there's no, I don't, you know, like I don't think there's any decoding, you know, so to speak, of any of these. I wanted to include something else, but when I remember what it is, I'll come back to it. Oh, this is what I meant to include. I meant to include the idea of taking on the duty and charge to attain anything that require we must work. And so when I thought about that, I thought about education. And I thought about education because here we're talking about building businesses, and the very first thing that we encountered a couple strongs ago was education, and the idea that education is the key to wealth, right? And the first component of our economy is that astuteness, is that study. So part of some of the thoughts that I had as I read, we have the duty to work, is the idea of working toward obtaining astuteness, working toward obtaining education and knowledge, um, of even the businesses that we endeavor to build and grow. You know, so the another idea of the need is the need for that knowledge in order to understand how to build up the foundations of a business, what a business entails, before launching into that. So, you know, the need of life is not just food, clothing, shelter, right? I realized when I thought of education, it kind of allowed me to expand my idea, and what I understand of the need of life beyond just food, clothing, and shelter. But the crew says the Boaz story also is very interesting because it expresses that we knew everything that was happening in his fields, right? Hence, he could leave instructions for surplus to be left for Ruth, which she sold. This is witness. So these are the parts. Oh my gosh, I can't even control my thoughts right now, because yes, I can control my thoughts. I am supposed to be able to control my thoughts, but this is part of what I wasn't sure how much it would our conversation would extend into it, because you know, when we talk about the idea of business and entrepreneurship and being able to build your economy to the point where you are able to employ others and give them a door toward attaining wealth, it's honorable. And later on, you know, this same paragraph speaks about this being esteemable. the piece that you bring up, Ava Cruz, is crucial because even as a business owner, you may find yourself assuming that it is, you know, it's your land, you own everything, this is your business, all that you planted is yours, and no one else has a right to it. However, Boaz was following and living based on Hebrew law, and Hebrew law requires that when you have harvest, you do not harvest everything, but you leave portions of harvest toward the edges of your field or whatever your land is, for to support those who are impoverished or less fortunate than you are. Right? That's law. So not only was he able to do that, but on top of that, he instructed them to leave. So that's a thank you for bringing that up. That's a great point. This is what I want. Like, this is what I want. Interactive. You share, I give some, you give some, and we're able to really build on uh, all of the concepts and so on shared within the excerpt here today. So that's a great point, of a Cruz, that he is, diligent and vigilant. He knows all of us, about all of what's happening, even the new faces, when they came, why, and was able to ask questions and receive an understanding about who Ruth was, and, kind enough and observant and astute enough to be able to respond appropriately to her needs at that time. So thank you for sharing that. Master Menelek shares James 5:4-6. So I don't know if anybody has James, but oh my goodness. Oh, they say when you ask the Most High, he does send. So thank you for sharing. He sends. Sorry, I didn't mean to break out in lingua. So Menelek has shared James 4:6. So I'm going to come back to you, Sister Naya. I'll come back to you, okay? And let's see. Condemning those who get rich off exploiting others. It's a what not to do as an employer. Right. I see. It condemns those who get rich off of exploiting others. Right. And this goes back to the idea of ethical, right? And we're about to come up on that that sentence that really helps us to explore how much sits on the shoulders of someone who is an employer, someone who's a business owner, an entrepreneur, right? I'll place that up. Imanaya, I'm coming back to you. I'm coming back. This is James 5:4-6. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you, kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Most High of Sabbath. Ye have lived in pleasure on earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. Right. So those who are, yeah, you're eating the bread of those who suffer, right? You making your pockets grow off of someone else's, sweat, right? So when we hear we have the duty to work to obtain what we need, that duty to work means honest work, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a a laborer all your life, because Anu speaks of there being a cutoff period. I cannot remember. I'm going to go back to it, but there's a cutoff period within your generation where, oh, that's coming, but it says craftsmen can exist among Anu, but should only for one generation. So it's one generation, right? But it's even if it's for one generation and you do not consider yourself a craftsman anymore, but a business owner, then part of your duty is to be honest. Part of your duty is to employ people, but those under your employ are also to a certain degree under your shelter. They're under your covering. And there's an expectation there. So that's why part of why I kind of said reciprocity at the beginning, because there's an expectation, right? It's esteemable to run a business that's honest and has ethics, and understanding that you have an opportunity to provide opportunity to others, or open the door for others to have an opportunity to build and grow and move out of poverty or states of impoverishment. That's an important role to play within the community, but it's just an important role to play, period. I'll go back to Imanaya, and I think there's more in the chat, but I'm going to scroll up to it. So Naya says, I think about positions held in kingdoms and how it was usually said it was their honor to serve in a particular position for a ruler, and in that service their basic needs are met and they receive. All right. Positions held. Right. This is true. Because again, there's a sense of reciprocity, and I think now we charge and we bill, we send invoices and things like that. But I think at some point there was like an understanding of what that exchange would be, Oh, but you're saying more because of their obedience. I see. I see what you mean. So it's almost like they're serving that particular person on loyally, and because of that loyalty, because of that obedience, they're paid. Well, I don't want to say paid, but their services are honored, and the way they honor them for their service and their loyalty is by providing for basic needs. Is that what you're saying? I don't want to say what you're not saying, but this is what I'm gathering from what you shared. Cruz says the Anu way teaches us that we work for and with certain employers to learn the industry. This is true. Sorry, but I can't help it. This is true. That working for and with certain employers, you're learning the industry, you're developing soft skills, you're honing, not just developing, but honing soft skills and sharpening them. You're learning how the business makes its money. Like that's critical. One of the most recent lectures that she shared with the women in the Anu Women's Ministry was around money and money management. And one of the crucial things was, like we have to know how businesses make their money, right? So we understand that process, and in understanding the industry, as you're saying, and how they make their money, it makes it a better investment. You know what you're investing in. It's not like, I don't know. And I was like that. I was like, oh, asking questions about a particular Bitcoin, but did not. I read some of the white people, but I didn't read the complete thing. I couldn't give a summary, any. So that's equivalent to not investing in education. All right. So, your statement, I'll highlight it. Our cruise reminds me of one of our charges, right? To put education at the forefront, like it's the key to wealth and building economy. And that's part of the education, even if it means we're working to learn the industry. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have some more. All right. I thought we were moving on. Okay, so top tier speakers, thank you for the adding to the references, because it's like I think every strong we come and we have these deliberations, but it's sometimes I think you sit back in the I don't want to say the audience, but behind the screen. And I think sometimes sometimes you do have biblical references and other thoughts that you want to share, but maybe you're reluctant to. So the charge is to, allow for you to build and add to the cipher in a sense by adding biblical references that we could all, have conversations about around. So top tier speaker shared the story of the 10 talents comes to mind. Luke 19:22 to 23. And I wanted to say, if anyone wanted to add to Imaniah's or Master Menelek's share and their references, their thoughts, please add it in the comments. But before you do, just what you could do is just put at the person or say response to, Naya or Menelek. So that way I can, like when I read it, I understand who you're responding to or whose comment you're responding to. And forgive me, I'm trying to look into the camera and share at the same time, but I'm also looking at the comment section. So I'm kind of doing this back and forth. So top tier speakers says, and he saith unto him, out of thine own mouth will I judge thee, thou wicked servant. Thou knewest that I was an austere man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow. Wherefore then gavest not thou my money into the bank, that at my coming I might have required mine own with usury? Right. So, here, yeah, there's no expanding on what has been given, right? And I am guilty of that in many ways. And like being in Anu charges us, sorry, I have a thing on my hand, charges us to see how we are given knowledge and what we do with it. Do we really expand? Do we really expound on it, build on it, and multiply it? Right? I think that's part of our charge. So it's, like that message is for all of us. When we're given that knowledge, what do we do with it? And I know in here it's speaking to the story of the 10 talents, but it's being given knowledge. What do you do with it? Being given an opportunity, what do you do with that opportunity? All right. Master Menelek says the woman described in Proverbs 31 comes to mind as well. Right. She seeks wool and flax. So yeah, the Proverbs 31 woman is very popular when it comes to, talking about being an entrepreneur and being working dutifully for what is needed. And I mean, I think it even covers the um the idea of investing in ethical, and what is ethical and what is, like, honest. And I mean, we don't see her doing that, but it comes down to, again, going back to education is the key, doing your research. Because if you're going to follow in the footsteps of, let's say, the Proverbs 31 woman, it makes sense. I mean, if you're going to benefit and grow, right? What you have to invest. You have to, educate yourself and research to know, about companies. What companies are you investing in? Because here, when it says she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands, she's not necessarily harvesting. She's not growing, planting, and harvesting these, but it's clear that she's doing trade, right? It's clear that there's some level of trade and so on going on. And if you're trading, it means that you're doing business with others. So it means that you have to have vetted them. You have to have done some research on that other business, that other company, to understand, how they make their money. Because I'm realizing how a company makes their money is a crucial part of being able to understand if it's a ethical company, if it's honest, or if they're making money off of another person's debt, you know. But that's something else, right? That's something else. Um, she is like the merchant's ships. She bringeth her food from afar. Yeah, again, those references are always, I think, references to doing trade and you know, not just local trade, not just local business. Even though here, I think one of the last things that is underscored is supplying our local economy. Um, but it's clear, the reference to merchant ships and so on speaks to how I think of import and export currently, you know, and I think that reference holds true for that time as well. Master Menelik says, she riseth also while it is yet night, and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it, and the fruit of her hands she plants. With the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. Her maids can refer to her maidservants. Yes. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. Yes. So this first piece we spoke to. And please, again, jump into the chat, and add, share, or add on, or share based on the biblical references that are being added to the cipher. These are really good ones. And I think they help to really underscore even more, right? This last one, Proverbs 31, really, I mean, you can use it for the whole of this section on entrepreneurialism, right? I think it applies to many of the different sections. She riseth also while it is yet night. So you see the diligence, you see the willingness to, not just the willingness, there's an understanding that there's necessity, or a need for being diligent, being consistent, being aware of all of what's happening within her household and making provisions for those, based on, of course, what her headship and her master would have given her to do. She considers a field and buys it. So this is this indicates that she knows how to assess land and its the value of land and be able to purchase land based on that assessment. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on. I don't see anyone else jumping into the chat, so we're going to move to the next section. It is by way of our labor that we can employ the craftsmen and distribute our wealth. So I think we touched on some of that. I won't continue on with it, but we talked a little bit about the understanding the value and the role of the employer, and how the employer actually opens up a door of opportunity for others to also gain wealth. All right, it's an opportunity for them to distribute and disperse that wealth. We only invest in businesses that are ethical and honest. So what comes to mind here is a piece, and there are many things that come to mind. I'm just selecting one, right? Integrity comes to mind here when I think about that next sentence. And I know part of the Anu vision, right? I know we covered this several months ago, but one of the statements of the Anu vision is to be a benefit to whatever community we find ourselves neighboring. All right. And so that may just speak to only the communities that are around us, but I think when we move around, or when we own businesses, right? And hold on, I think I missed something. 1 second. Yeah, all right, sorry. No. When we own business or we want to invest in other businesses, and an investment in another business is as simple as doing trade with them, all right, or purchasing resources from them, or products and services from them. Even though you may offer products and services, you may purchase from others. And so I think it makes sense here to include that we are a benefit to whatever community we find ourselves neighboring, because I think that speaks to researching and knowing other businesses that we engage in and we make contracts with. Because if those businesses, they may offer the cheapest resources, they may offer the highest quality resources, they may offer resources that are not, again, top quality, but at the same time, when we look at some of their practices, maybe how they treat their workers, those are things that I think of when I think of investing in other businesses that are ethical and honest. We have to, I think that's part of our charge if we're going to be of a benefit to any community that we're in. Then I think that extends to how we spend our money and who we spend our money with, right? And whether they too are really looking at their business as an opportunity to distribute wealth to those who need to build themselves up when it comes to money and when it comes to wealth specifically, and economics, right? Sister Deidre says, yep, in this digital age, our neighbors may not mean physical proximity. Of course, of course, of course. It may just mean those who are within the same industry, right? So whether it is whether you're talking, okay, I'll go with food industry, or maybe you're talking, small businesses that operate from commercial spaces, or maybe you're talking about an automotive business, or anything. It's really important to consider, that scope of neighboring community expands beyond that physical. It's those who are within the same industry. And Yeah, so I just thought of how extensive this idea is, because it affects everything, right? It affects everything. It's almost like a domino effect. If I do business with one person who is not honest, um, maybe they have. How does it affect me? It's almost like when people say blood money, right? Um, yeah. So I think this is true. Oh, okay, you're making fun of me with my "this is true." All right, I'm gonna stop now. Excuse me, cause clearly I don't know. All right, so let's move on. Any before I move on though, is there anyone who wants to share a thought or any biblical references? Like I said, I think um, these are very straightforward. It's kind of like do this, do that. So in some cases, it really is about paying heed to what is being shared. As opposed to, and I opened up with, yeah, let's deliberate, but to a certain degree there's no deliberating about investing in businesses that are ethical. you know how do you do that? Um the next sentence reads, we must make sure that the products and services that we offer are leaving an imprint of improvement in the world. This sentence also ties or is connected to that part of the Anu vision about being a benefit to whatever community we find ourselves in. You know, I know when it comes to like products and services, everyone this is there's like a whole new boom when it comes to small businesses and um people taking on the charge of creating products and offering services. But I find that there are lots of swindlers out there, right? It is, and you can see how much it's expanding, because many times, like you know, if you are on YouTube a lot, and you are on YouTube right now, you'll notice that there's like this increase in the number. Well, if you don't have, you know, is YouTube Red still a thing? I'm not sure. I don't think so. But you'll notice that there's this like huge increase in the amount of ads. And I'm not saying people shouldn't have ads, because they're doing business, they're gonna have ads. But you see a lot of businesses running ads, and many of them run ads, and the first thing you hear is, do you want to make, you know XYZ thousands of dollars within this amount of time? Or you'll hear the keywords, drop shipping is the thing to do. um, or you'll hear people trying to entice you to purchase, what do you call it, a workshop or a master class. That's the new thing, master class, right? And I say, like, do your research on a lot of those companies, because some of them, when you do read the reviews, the reviews are horrible. They're horrible, because many of them, they really are not offering services, right? Then they're not offering services, and many times what they offer or what they share in the ads is incorrect, is false advertising. So, you know it, going back to the idea of the products and services leaving an imprint of improvement, we want to make sure that whatever we offer, whatever companies that we also do business with, they're taking the route of integrity, right? We want to make sure that that's the case. And I think of products, right? And you all let me know in the chat, if you've ever encountered a product that you've purchased and you realize when advertised to do one thing, it actually does the opposite, right? I think the pharmaceutical industry is guilty of that 100%, right? Because they love to tell you, oh, um, all of the results from these tests show this, or this product is FDA approved, or I do see people investing in those products or investing in the research of those products. And I say, well, I mean, if it's an investment, you might think, okay, well, that's a good thing. However, if you're investing in a product or a, how should I say, a natural resource, or the material to actually create a product that destroys the health of community members, or maybe not community members, but just people in general, because here it says in the world, so that may not include people in our community. But if that product is a detriment to others, then I think it's really that this is where being astute comes in. This is where that research and study comes in. You have to know who you're doing business with. It's not enough to say, oh, like, I'm making this product and it's great, but the product you're making requires several other ingredients. Let's just go with products. And maybe you're sourcing ingredients from a company. You may be sourcing ingredients from a company that kind of just adds a little bit of filler to the product, right? That you need, but you don't know, and you may unknowingly do so. But there are times when you may do it because guess what? You may say, you know what, it's more affordable and it gives me, it allows for me to charge or to price an item at a lower cost for the consumer. That way I make a larger profit, right? And you'll do that only again because the ingredients that you purchase are of a lower cost, right, to you. But in truth and in fact, it on the back end, um, the fillers and all of those things, that to me, that is equivalent to unethical, right? To me, this is what I understand, right? As I'm thinking about it, and like drawing on the examples, because like when I read this again, there were so many examples and ideas of how people swindle us out of our money, right? And they sell us these huge ideas, whether it's for health, whether it's for fitness, whether it's investments, maybe it's investment banking, like that's a new thing. They sell us all of these products, and they do so by, again, making us think that we're going to have an outcome that we, doesn't happen. And many times I find like it either leaves us in debt, or it compromises our health. So again, I think it goes back to the idea of education and kind of studying and understanding how some businesses work, where they source their material, where they source their ingredients. And when it comes to services, who's offering the services? Because, all right, I'll go to the chat because I keep going on. Master Menelik says, I've seen a lot of well-meaning business ideas that could use deliberation. Their meaning well can sometimes be seen as enough, and they launch before the idea is proven to be a sound one. True. Yes, because there's, yeah, we could go on and on and on. So part of even the idea of the deliberation is deliberating around, you know, like the business plan. What is that business plan? Or deliberating on whether that business should be an LLC, right? Or whether it should be a business at all, or incorporated at all, or should just be non for profit, right? I think like those things are important to consider, right? And also, like if it's a business where it's, and I am not a business major, so I'm not speaking from a place of, I know, you know, this, you know, when it comes to like products, like where are, again, I'm going to go back to like where are you sourcing your products, right? Do you have an idea of what the cost would be? um yeah, yeah. MGC says, oh, Master Menelek says, they ain't guilty. It's all in the fine print. It is all in the fine print. It is all in the fine print. It's a matter of fact, it's the intention. It's the intention. There are some, and maybe this is where it gets dangerous when you say maybe this is, you know, but there's a lot of psychology that's used. I think one of the examples that Chief gave, I think it was from last night's breakdown, um, was that people would share ads and so on, but some of those ads would actually have errors, grammatical errors or mistakes, and it is not, you know, like those mistakes aren't mistakes, they're deliberately done because they're appealing to a particular audience. All right, so I think many times when it comes to businesses, there there is a plan sometimes, but the plan is not an honest one, because the intention is to get over on people, to hoodwink. MGC says, I remember someone selling monatomic gold to open one's third eye, as if enlightenment can be sold and taken like a pill. Right? Enlightenment, it starts from within and expands outward. This is true. Think about it, brother. No, we don't need to think about it. I mean, the thinking is what's going to get you in trouble too. um, right, really, gold potions to open your third eye, huh? Okay, well, sure, but you know, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's so much. It's even, you know, like it's not as mystical and, you know, new agey as something as your example, you know. All right, I think we're at the last. This is the last sentence. So we must make sure that the products and, no, sorry, my mistake. The last sentence reads, if we can supply a service or product on a global scale, this is a great thing. But supplying our local economy is also esteemable. All right, so there's a distinction being made with between the global economy and the local, and of course, um, I guess we could talk about a couple of things, but you know, like if you're talking about supplying on a global scale, you know, I like the statement you made, and I'm gonna go back to that. I mean, both require deliberation, both require business plans, both require thinking about, again, your resources, where you're sourcing your material, if you're providing products, and all of that, but also funding, you know, like funding, those are things that are important to think about. But I think walking away from this paragraph, this excerpt, and really thinking about the importance of wealth and building economy, I realized that being an entrepreneur, being an owner, um, and having or taking ownership in whether again you're providing product or service is crucial. I think that's one of the ways that we break through the generational curses of poverty, or being impoverished. It's because you're creating your own economy, you're providing for your own homestead, and so and generating from your resources. And I think the first resource that I'm going to pull on is the idea of education, and also your creativity, right? Those ideas, those business ideas, and um, the networking that you have to do. Those are again, and this is all connected again to vision and promise, right? Because you don't want to take on a business idea that is not, or was not, let's say, a promise or a vision. You don't want it to be just, oh yeah, I just decided this is what I'm gonna do because I feel like, so there's a deeper conversation that has to happen. But you know what I walk away from is the understanding that ownership, that business ownership, um, and that owning of our economy is what's crucial and what's being underscored here. And like there's no way to make progress if we're not able to, whether in this lifetime, create a business or become entrepreneurs, or at least set the stage so that our next generation can be and do what we were not able to accomplish. So when we think about Anu, and we think about the idea of, not the idea, but we think about family. We always have to think about the fact that if we're building economy and building wealth, it's not about what we can benefit from, or how we can benefit from it, but it's really about how the youth who are to come, um, and the future benefits from it, not so much what we benefit from it. It's like, because then we're actually laying a foundation, right, for what is to come. MGC Randy says being able to serve, assist, and add value to more people, local versus global. Right. Look, and so can you quickly in the chat? It's 7:45, so we're gonna close off. But can you quickly in the chat share what are your thoughts when you think about services, and products on a global scale? What does that look like to you? And when you think about supplying our local economy, what does that look like to you? Because maybe local economy may mean something different, right? It may not mean our community and the neighboring communities. It may just mean your community, right? Or as a new woman, I'll say my community. So again, what are your thoughts around what serving or supplying a service or product looks like on a global scale versus a local economy? Master Menelik says, yeah, even something as simple as being able to supply water to your community is valuable. Yes, this is true. This is true. This is true. And it speaks to, if we're talking about our new community and supplying our local community, it also speaks to the way each homestead within our community offers and provides a very specific maybe commodity, but value, right? Or role or function, right? So it kind of it gives us an opportunity to think about how we can create businesses that we can use to serve our local community and supply. And you know, like that goes back to the idea of corporate economics. And you know, it yeah, I just think there's more there that we could explore. If you want to, we can. But I think there's more that we could explore when it comes to that networking of supplies, right? And even thinking about the way the supply chain is compromised now, like in these times, right? The grain supply chain, and how is affecting that's affecting prices, like food prices and so on. And you know, it makes me realize like when we are able to supply our local, we can to a certain degree, right? Because we're still dependent on some things, but to a certain degree, we take away that monopoly of control over maybe some of the basic needs, right? And if we're able to supply rather than leaning on or waiting on imports, then it gives us the opportunity to survive a little longer. All right, to build our strength internally, as opposed to having to um, wait on business from the outside. Um, that's what you know, like I that's how I'm thinking when I think about supplying our local community and it being esteemable, because it gives us an opportunity to think about how again we can thrive if we're you know, like we're dependent on each other and not necessarily dependent on not export, rather import, or other businesses supplying resources that we can provide ourselves. You know, I think so. And anyone else? If not, if there isn't anyone else, I will close our conversation, our community dialogue. I want to thank those of you who engaged, those of you who shared. Um, if you have any questions or anything else that you want to build on, please let me know. I did not see anyone from Facebook, so I don't know. If you are on Facebook, just hit us a piece in the chat so we know you're there. Master Menelik says, or tied to others' power grids. Right, right. Something as simple as, yeah, generating power. Yes, that's true. Because supplying water can also give us an opportunity to tap into some, you know, other sources of power, right? This is true. This is true. This is true. All right, so we are gonna close our Shema for this evening. For those of you who are um, looking for some inspiration to open your strong or your weak, as you would say, every Yom Rishon or Monday or first day at 9 o'clock on Clubhouse on Anu Life Radio. Oh my gosh, Anu Radio. We have Sister Shamanique sharing musical mixes on Anu Radio. So check out Clubhouse at 9 a.m. on Yom Rishon, and at 12 midday on Anu Life Global Ministries. We actually have Mind Over Matter that will be facilitated by Ema Precious. So we have a midday affirmative. So more inspiration to open up your strong and get you ready and ripped and running. Ripped and running. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Master Menelek, thank you, Chief. Also, I wanted to share, we have the blog. The blog comes out, the blog drops. I like to say we have a new blog volume that drops um, every Yom Rishon. And so we have a new blog dropping. Check the website. And many times you can check out our Anuman, the Anuman Instagram page, or Anu, the Anu Woman's Instagram page, or our Facebook page for any updates and any links. Always check the stories, because the stories will always have the links. It will take you directly to the Clubhouse Midday Affirmative, or it will take you to the YouTube videos or the live streams. All right, so always check your stories, because the links are always hidden in there somewhere that you can click on. Please also, tune into our Enlightenment and Transformation YouTube channel, because that's where the movie breakdowns take place. And Chief is currently doing a 5-part series on the Space Odyssey, which is a brilliant film. Like, if you haven't gotten a chance to see it, please check it out and come with your notes. Come with your notes and look at part 1 and 2, because Chief really sets the stage and lays the foundation for a lot of like deeper thinking, like beyond thinking beyond what we just see in the film, right? So, um, Brother Lowe is taking a break right now, and Chief is actually doing movie breakdowns for the whole of June. So tune in every Thursday at 8:30 on Enlightenment and Transformation. And hey, see you back next Yom Shishi. See you here again at 6:30. We'll have another Shema build. It will be Akilo and Akizak, and like they do it in Anuman fashion. I just can't say anything else. All right. Peace, everyone. Enjoy your Sabbath. Rest. Thank you, Chief, for sharing the space and opening up this space for us to build and minister and be of service. Thank you, Sister Deidre Sully, top tier speakers, Sister Naya, Safta Arlene, Abba Cruz, Master Menelek, Master Raskush, Abba Raskush. Peace, everyone. Peace, peace, peace.